Hey everybody, it's Rick Trummer from Rick Trummer Consulting and Training, and welcome to video 3 of the Mathematics of Pricing and Business Management. As you can recall from yesterday, I had you take a look at your business overhead. How much are you spending on a per month basis? If you remember from our example, we had 282, 351, 35 that we're going to have to be able to account for inside of our business. How are we going to be able to make that work, and how much is our time worth? Do we just look at the people down the street and say they're charging $50 per hour, so we can charge $55 or we can charge $45 based on that because we want to be less expensive? Absolutely not. You're going to have to figure out what your time is worth on any given day of the week and how many hours you're going to actually be working. So let's take that math and figure out how to come up with our pricing. So, how much is your time worth? This is the key to the process, and this is where businesses fail most often, is because they don't know exactly how much their time is worth, and that way they don't know how much they're going to have to charge on a per hour basis. And they say, well, the going rate is $85 per hour, so I can go ahead and work on that, and that should work within my limitations. But it actually, in some cases, it's not working very well to your advantage. So let's figure it out. So we know from our example that we have 282, 351, 35 that we have to come up with on a yearly basis. So for us, how much is that per week? Well, on a weekly basis, that means that we have to come up with $5,429.83. Every week, we have to come up with this dollar amount to be able to pay our employees, to pay ourselves, and to make sure that our overhead is taken care of. So that's how much money we have to come up with. The next number that I'm going to give you is the most vital in the process. It's how many billable hours you have on a per week basis. Most people say, well, I work 40 hours a week, and so that must be the number. Well, not really, because you're not actually billing out for that entire time that you have on a per week basis. You may only be billing 20 hours per week that you're actually working. The rest of it is prep work or whatever else that you're doing. And so that's where people kind of mess up on their hourly. We actually have 40 to 50 billable hours that we have. What I tell most people is to figure out what your average is. So if one week you have, let's say, 10 billable hours, and the next one you have 40 billable hours, you have 50 billable hours in those 2 weeks. But if you divide it by 2, because of the 2 weeks that you had, you really have an average of 25 billable hours on a per week basis. That number will change then. So if you had to come up with, let's just say, for example, we had to come up with $5,000 on any given week, and you only have 25 billable hours to do that in, you can go ahead and do the math. In our example, we're actually having somewhere between 40 and 50 billable hours that we have. So for us, it runs about $108.60 per hour. So once we know what our per hour is, and you're the only ones that can do that. You have to figure out what your billable hours are on a per week basis. Once you do that, you're going to divide that number by 60, and that's how much your value is per minute. We need to know what that value is per minute. And here's the reason why. If you take 10 minutes to retouch an image, in our example here, at $1.81 per minute, our 10 minutes is worth $18.10. Well, we can pay someone to do retouching for us for a couple bucks, like the lab. So why would we be pulling that out of our own amount of money that we're making, or we need to bill out on a per minute, when we can pay the lab to do it for a lot less money? So those are things that you have to analyze for yourself inside your own area. Sometimes it's more valuable for you to be able to do that retouching. Maybe you're the only one that you're trusted with it. But then you better figure out, when you're doing that, you better figure out your value per minute when you go in and do your final calculations. So what I need you to do now between this video and the next video that goes out tomorrow is you're going to be figuring out your price per hour. Let's go ahead and get your total cost of operation, which you've already done. Now figure out what your cost is on a per week basis, on a per hour basis, how many billable hours you have, and then on a per minute basis, and have all of those numbers ready to go. Because when we start figuring out our cost on weddings and our cost on retouching and figuring out what our 8x10s cost or whatever products that we have, it's all going to be based on those dollar amounts that we have to be able to figure in. So until our next video, I'm Rick Trummer from Rick Trummer Consulting and Training, and I'll see you on the tube.